And we are live. Welcome everyone to Liberal Lookouts 3, What is Mass Creation and a Superpower Stumbles. I'll start today by presenting to you a little bit about the mass creation idea, and then we'll have a guest to present the situation of a member of the community. So I originally made this channel in late 2019 while I was still forming the approach I was going to take to content creation. When I found a good one, I rebranded the channel, made the brand account, at least on YouTube. Mass creation is the philosophy I chose for myself and anyone interested in joining it. And it's interested in two main goals. Why the liberal world is worth protecting and how to do it. In other words, what makes it desirable to live in and what as many people as possible should do to ensure its freedoms and prosperity lasts. I'll go in the future in some scripted videos about some details. Now, the reason I made this account a brand channel is to make Mass Creation Studios a place where various liberal content makers and hopefully in time mass creators to add their own voices to promoting liberal values. If you go on my YouTube page, you'll see the channel sections. If someone is there, it is almost guaranteed to be someone with Mass Creation Studios endorsement. There are many channels with various political backgrounds and some news and geopolitics ones. There are people like the subject of today's video, Kevin Castley of Superpower Broadcasting, and others like Kraut or Voltaire's Ghost, and Pat Condell. Okay, I have today here with me Reese of Nightmare Fuel, or right now Spooky Nookies, and he'll present to you a little bit about what happened to Kevin Castley. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on. It's good to have an opportunity to talk about this kind of thing because it is still an ongoing situation. The basic rundown is that Kevin's channel, Superpower Broadcasting, was falsely flagged down by a former disgruntled fan named Grayson Asbeth, who was in the last couple months he ended up getting purged from that community because he came out with a lot of fascistic hot takes that a lot of people didn't seem to appreciate, including myself. And he was big mad about that, so he decided to take it upon himself to prove even more how illiberal he was. What's interesting, though, is we were looking through the streams in question that got hit. It was over a couple-day period. Kevin got hit with one false copyright strike, and then a couple days later, he got hit with two in the same day. So definitely a coordinated effort, but it was Grayson's name attached to all three on the notice. So those are clearly the ones that went through.
Yeah.
But
so he wasn't very stealthy about it.
No. You see, a smart person would have used an alt. What's interesting about that is oftentimes when this crowd will engage in harassment of us, despite the fact that they're all mostly anonymous, they will use alts and just a double protection, so to speak. But that was actually how they ended up tricking their way onto one of the debates that was a couple of months ago. At the time, Kevin had a lot more open debate policy than he does now. Unfortunately, that got abused to high hell, so it had to be reformed a bit. But at the time, they took advantage of that. We were pretty well aware that it was a troll because, this account was just made this month. And what, they want to debate you? Yeah. I wonder who it could be.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear sign.
So, yeah, you would think, you're right to bring that up, because you'd think that if people dedicate their entire lives to harassing you, that they would be good at it. But that doesn't seem to always be the case. If you're going to do something, at least refine your skill. At least, take some pride in your craft. But no, apparently not. That's almost more insulting than the harassment itself to a degree. But so there's that. They ended up, the streams that they flagged, these were streams in which they weren't even exclusively about him. There was one about him. That was the post debate show for when he tricked his way onto the channel and showed up dressed in a maid's uniform. And it
Clearly,
was
very traditional and very,
very, very tradcon of him to do. So we obviously made fun of that. And we also played some of his TikToks where he was also a maid. So we knew this maid femboy thing existed, but even I was surprised to see him actually show up to the debate in that persona. So we made fun of those. We critiqued the TikToks. There's a very infamous TikTok where he's dressed as a maid, like a bunny girl maid, and he talks about how atheists are killable. So obviously we're making fun of that. What's interesting is these were very explicitly copyright related strikes, despite the fact that there was no copyright broken. In any material that was shown, if it has an automatically assigned copyright through TikTok, we were looking into that a little bit. I suppose some TikToks do, but even those would still fall under fair use for the way that they were used in our
you were
streams.
critiquing them, and it wasn't just copy paste.
No, we didn't mirror the kill all atheists TikTok. I can assure you that was
That's
not something I was interested. A little bit, people might wonder what was going on with me if I had rubber stamped that, but that's that's where we're at. So no, the streams engaged in transformative content. So these are flagrantly false flags. And I can tell you that an appeal has been sent in. Unfortunately, YouTube can be very slow about this sort of thing. And they're very quick. They're very quick to ban you.
Yeah,
they take their sweet time to actually review the situation and sort it out.
Yeah, I've had a similar situation with YouTube taking down one of my videos. I don't know if you've seen it. I sent it to you. It's on BitChute now, the one on Israel. Yeah, they're very twitchy.
Very twitchy. maybe they should change names. Maybe they should be Twitch, and Twitch can be the new YouTube. Who knows?
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't feel like YouTube much anymore. But I would understand if they had a system in place. Like they should know. They should have an algorithm to work out these kind of kinks to prevent abuse of the TOS, to prevent false flag campaigns, be able to pick up on a pattern. Okay, this actually hasn't been properly reviewed. There really is no copyrighted infringement happening here. But no, they're going to take the time to actually review them.
There is something like that. Like if they see that they keep getting false reports or stuff like this, at least for larger channels, there's one of them which I knew had it like this, that they begin to realize that the claims are false after a while. And at least on Kevin's channel, for my audience, he had about 820 subs, and he was taken down completely.
Yeah, so it it can happen even if your channel is in good standing, even if your channel has an upward trajectory, and it seems that they're content to let the review process happen now, which was a major disruption and a major obstacle in a lot of ways. I will say this though, for now, Kevin did set up an alternate channel. Last time I checked, it had around 150 subs. Not bad for a channel. It's been around
That's a
for three days.
mm-hmm. It got a lot of eyeballs on it.
First time I had a channel for 3 days, it had 0 subs. so really, not too much to scoff at there. But so that exists. It's the same name, Superpower Broadcasting. There's been some streams to it. It has streaming capability, been some uploads over there. And of course, Kevin still had other platforms. He had Periscope and he had Twitch, and he still had the StreamYard studio. But okay, we'll get into the portion of why this really happened. Why did this really happen? Well, there's some people who are hurt that they got booted from the project. They saw what Kevin was doing with his channel, how he was reaching a lot of people, how he was progressively growing. He was well on his way to 1K subs, and that was going to be a massive milestone. The night that he got taken down and this false flag campaign actually went through, he was going to be representing the interventionist position in several high profile Twitch appearances. So he had appeared on a stream, a brief stream with Dylan Burns and some libertarian guy, and there was a heated argument over there. And then he was going to appear on Prime Kai's stream to debate, I believe, a socialist on the same topic, that being Afghanistan. And this is when people decided to strike. And I think a lot of it is, I question the dedication to interventionism among a lot of these people. I think that given their, demonstrated lack of empathy and humanist values, it's very difficult for me to call them neoconservatives. I'd be much more likely to call them defensive realists than anything else, but I guess that technically makes you a hawk in some way. So that's the thing too.
But as Kevin said, he's also moving away from the label and choosing only liberal unilateralists now.
Yeah, no, and that's up to him. The thing is, people will call you a neoconservative anyway, and if people called me that, I wouldn't really mind, to tell you the truth. It is what it is. I I joked earlier on Twitter, like, oh no, you can more call me a neoconservative, because the thing is, the term is almost ironic because, oh, it's neoconservatives, it's the new conservatives. Yeah, like they were new decades ago. They're not new anymore. They've been around the block. So you almost need something else to just connect it with more modern issues in a sense, and keep the movement afloat. But when it comes to the central tenet of the movement, I agree with it. I agree with the idea of spreading democracies for the sake of global stability and world peace, and I think that's a good goal. And is it always accomplished exactly as I would want it to be? Absolutely not. But that's getting a bit off topic. So a lot of these guys, it's interesting because a lot of people would say they would look at you're hawkish and interventionist, and they'd lump all of these people in together, and they'll even just straight up make the point that, oh yeah, all hawks are fascists. Well, that's not true, obviously. Now some of them are. Some of them are. I can't deny that. But all of them, absolutely.
Yeah, Mussolini and Hitler were pro-war at least, so yeah, they had the intention of expanding.
Oh yeah. So that's definitely a thing. These divides do exist. The community is a lot more complex than many people would characterize it as. But I think that you had people who were at least quasi hawkish, quasi interventionists. They were very upset at the idea of, oh, who's gonna be the rising star of the hawk pill, the interventionist side, the one who's actually going into the lion's den, going on the hippy dippy round table, going on Prime Kai's channel, arguing with all these people, arguing with Vosh, and they saw it was Kevin. Kevin was the one who took up that mantle. None of them were going to take up that mantle anytime soon. Again, these guys are all anonymous. they don't they don't they're not going to show up on these shows. Why? Because they'd have to turn on their cameras probably, or they'd be pressured into turning on their cameras for 4 hours, and it would make them very uncomfortable. They're not going to show up on these shows.
Yeah.
Grayson
Also,
might. He
also
might. He
there's
might. He might show up as
oh,
the maid on Hippy Dippy. Who knows?
also there's a thing that they have to defend to a greater degree than they probably can. The position.
Oh yeah, no. That was something. That was something that we had taken notice of. Was a lot of their hawkish arguments obviously came from Kevin, and they came from me. Not to take total credit, not to act like we're these visionaries or anything. I think that arguments that I make seem like common sense. I don't feel like a genius for coming up with any of them, but you do notice the lack of originality, and that breeds a very bad situation in which people are feckless and they don't really have principles. They're just regurgitating things that they've heard. They don't actually believe in anything. And that's a problem because people like that can be so easily swayed, so easily manipulated. And you have to ask yourself, well, is that what you want your movement to be? Do you want your movement to be sheeple?
Just a meme. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Oh, no, go.
Yeah. I also know this thing with having no principles. Like on that side, there's the meme of my constitution, where they mock the very idea of principle, at least to some extent. And yeah, they tried to join and overtake the hawkish side, and it's not working. It's going better without them.
Yeah, no, that's very disheartening in a lot of ways because I felt like we were really on the up and up. We had mostly, I had felt like, moved on from these guys. I consider them to be dead weight. They're a nuisance at best. Their entire lives are dedicated to harassing us. And after a while, that just gets lame. And you realize that, well, if you interact with these guys, all you're doing is giving them attention. This is their way of staying in your life. They don't like that they got kicked out. So, oh, well, this is how we can stick around. I call them the fan club because there are no bigger fans of Superpower Broadcasting than these people. They watch every single minute of everything Kevin has ever said. That's what they do.
Yeah, I've heard someone reference these types of people as anti-fans. So they're as strong as fans, just they're opposed to you.
Or I suppose you could call them stans. They're fans who went a little crazy because they felt entitled to your time and your space and your endorsement and your promotion. And when for whatever reason you didn't give it to them, they snap and they go nuts and they do something like this, such as abusing the flagging system on YouTube. The reason why it's disheartening is because obviously I was appearing on Kevin's channel a lot. We have our weekly podcast, School Gang Rising, covering the worst foreign policy takes of the week. And we're still doing that, obviously. We have to do it on this new channel for the time being. But it's disheartening because obviously over there, we were getting some really nice views. It was a nice, comfortable community, and it had been fully deloused at that point. And we were on the up and up. I liked seeing the channel grow. It felt cool to be a part of something like that again. Because, of course, I have a channel with like 9K subscribers, but too lazy to upload content over there these days too much.
I've
But
been there. I've been there when you were at 10K, and it was like topping off because you began to annoy people with the hockey stakes.
it was worth it. It was worth it because a number is just, it's a number next to your channel, whatever. I was happy. I was happy to have one subscriber. Honestly, I never expected to have any kind of following. I didn't know what I was doing in the early days. I was really just messing around, just talking about things that interested me. To have anyone care, especially years later, I think that's pretty astounding and very special. But and maybe I will take some time to upload something over there in the coming months. But it was nice to be a part of that feeling again of ascension, of seeing the channel grow up for the first time and just having kind of a relaxed presence where you show up. Obviously, I do work for the podcast behind the scenes. I'm the one who finds all of the torture techniques. I'm sorry, video clips. So
I mean, yeah,
I
I
bundle those together, and then I send off a nice little gift to Kevin. I'm like, hey, I got something for you, and he's like, oh, he's like curious. What do you have? Bam! And it's a bunch of shitty links.
it's played.
You got played, son. And he's looking at this. He's like, really? Jimmy Dore and Kyle? And I'm like, yes. yes.
We do hate you, but we do love you.
Some friend I am, right?
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that next time when I want to send to Kevin stories on email, I should send them to you. Let you be the fall guy.
I really set myself up for that one. Yes, you can send them to me. If you send them to me, I feel like there's a higher likelihood they'll end up in rotation because Kevin might forget to send them to me. But we'll see. I try to get to as many things as possible, but there's just too much. And it doesn't help that we spend an hour and a half on Kyle. So really. But we try to get to the most special takes, the hottest takes that one can find. So there's that. So okay, I'll get back more to the point. That's why this was a little disheartening because it's like, well, really now you have to deal with that, especially because we weren't sure when we were going to have streaming capability. I was considering maybe hosting it for the time being, and then Kevin was able to get his setup up again. So, and I think that's for the best because truthfully, I have a lot of content. A big goal I see of the podcast was actually to grow Kevin's channel, and those videos ended up doing fairly well. All of his uploads did well, but I feel like those videos, it's hard to, you're not going to be able to look at the views now because of flagrant false flagging. But the podcast did pretty well. They were among some of the more viewed videos, and especially if we uploaded individual clips from the podcast, those tended to do even better than the original streams themselves. So it's disheartening. We've obviously put a lot of work into that, and Kevin's put even more work into the channel itself. We had a lot going on. We had some high-profile guests coming up, and this was a blatant attempt to censor and silence and cyberbully a user who they don't agree with. And it goes so much further than just disagreement. It goes into people feeling entitled to your time and your endorsement, and they get pissed when you decide to revoke it for whatever reason. In this case, there was a pretty good reason to revoke an endorsement when users started coming out with hot takes about how they supported, fascist dictators who killed atheists. That was obviously not going to go over very well. And it was like, well, at that point, it doesn't matter if we agree on whatever, if we agree on a foreign policy or an economic policy, that's deranged, that's demented, and that's below dignity. And what, I thought it was just a bad look to have the community in such a place where we seem desperate for allies. There are quality allies everywhere. You just have to put in the time to actually find them and reach them. I don't think that we should just become the Isle of Lost Toys over here and take anybody. Oh, okay. We're not gonna check up on you or anything you might believe or
Or
said.
bet you, yeah, yeah. I mean,
No.
if you build your community with people who are who have no principles, who are laughing stock, then yeah, you set yourselves up to fail as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I wouldn't have done it myself because I didn't choose to rub shoulders with a lot of these people, but and that was Kevin's choice. But I can't even judge it. I understand what it's like. Everybody kind of has to make those mistakes as a content creator. I made my fair share of mistakes in terms of associations in the early days for sure. It happens. And there's a point when you're a content creator where you're excited to talk to anybody and everybody. And I look back on some of those interviews now. I look back on some of those people I talked to, and I cringe. I'm like, oh, what was that? That wasn't good. Because you don't even have the full scope of what you're promoting necessarily. You're just excited to be a part of it all, and to turn against anybody, especially anybody who had a following, that would have come with consequences. That would have come with, oh, potentially you're going to become, public enemy number one of all these people. You're too deeply embedded in the community. But I think there comes a point when I was willing to let a lot of stuff slide. It was when people started directly attacking me that I decided to step away. And I didn't even want to be petty about it. I was content to walk away, do my own thing, obviously keep up the podcast. And, they can have their community and I could have my community. It was going to be as simple as that. And that was at a time when Kevin hadn't even picked a side. He didn't even know of everything that had gone down, really. It's not like I report to Kevin every new update in my life. That's just how things were. And eventually things, fell into place as they are now. And it wasn't the goal to totally wreck the internet, but I'm satisfied with how things worked out. But unfortunately, this is one of those consequences. One of the consequences is, oh, there's going to be false flags. There's going to be an abuse of these systems. Um, Coming from people who violate the TOS all the time. Every stream of theirs is spewing hate and talking about how they want to oppress women and all kinds of just deranged garbage. But so YouTube's not
Yes,
going to do anything about that, but they're going to take down Kevin's channel. Okay.
yeah. Stuff like that. It's why I don't watch them, and I watch Kevin. Like from Kevin, I think at my end streams from about 8 to 12 a.m.
Something to wake up to.
Yeah, something to wake up to instead of something to stay at 3 a.m. to stream.
Yeah, no. Well, our schedule's a little wacky. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I mean, tell that to me. As was noted in the chat, I am. I don't know why I volunteered to do 3 streams today because I don't know. It was an off day, and I was bored. So, but this is something definitely worth talking about. It is disheartening. It has taken a little bit of mojo out of myself and everyone else in the community, but I do have confidence that there's a process in place to remedy these sort of things, and I've seen some real miracles come about filing these appeals and channels resurfacing as a result. And I don't think it's entirely outside the realm of possibility, but even then, you do have to prepare for the worst, and that's why it's nice to have the channel that Kevin is currently using, the channel to which we are going to be streaming. So, you know, I think it's very pathetic to have people who are skulking around in the shadows. They're all anonymous. None of them show their faces except for the maid. And they're not willing to.
And even
They're
that by
not
accident. But
by
almost by
accident.
he wasn't intended to be found.
There is that. There's they're not willing to step up to the plate and actually go out there and argue. Like you would think, oh well, these guys are hawks, so the people they argue with all the time must be non-interventionists or isolationists. Not true at all. The people they argue with the most are us, because well, they are, you know, far right conservatives first and hawks second. So, and it was interesting because there were a lot of very, shall we say, disingenuous calls for unity with this section of the people on Twitter, and blatantly transparent. Could see right through that was being said clearly through the lens of a double standard. Because it shouldn't have been said to us. It should have been said to the people who have been pestering us and attacking us and attacked us in the first place. But then they turn around and they'll come to Kevin or myself and say, well, why don't you just try unity, man? Why don't you give peace a chance? Oh yeah, let me just set aside.
With you? I don't think so.
Clearly we don't believe in peace to begin with, so it's already a little ironic. But beside that, I don't see the need to make peace with people who attacked me, and that was the catalyst for all this. I am not the one who needs to do anything at that point. I was actually the one who was an adult. I was the one who said, "Okay, these people don't like me. I'm going to step away. I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to make some big deal out of this. I'm not going to make some 10-part video series roasting them." And they were the ones who insisted on it continuing. And so as a result, we talked about it. It almost was something done out of necessity. And it wasn't something we enjoyed. We were just like, okay, yeah, here we go. Because we have way too many people breathing down our necks, asking what's going on. Okay, here's what's going on. Again, another instance of you try to remove somebody from your life because they are nothing but a toxic presence, backstabbers, and they insist on making themselves a part of your life by force. It's such a violation. It's so lame, and this is the pinnacle of lame, in my opinion, which is an abuse of the flagging system. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to stick. There's no way it's going to stick, because this is there's no copyright to infringe, and this happens all the time. You look up, you'll find top videos in this subject. So clearly, a lot of people have dealt with this topic when it comes to abuse of the copyright claim. One of the most occurring false flags used for whatever reason, maybe because it's initially effective, as it was in this case. But does it stick? No, because what it would imply is that there was a law broken, as in what they're alleging is that Kevin Castley is a criminal, except he's not. He uploaded transformative content. Very, very useful commentary on videos that were publicly available. So I don't know what to tell you, man.
But he's a warmonger.
That's true. That's very true. And he was the one who was actually willing to go out there and to confront our political opponents in a meaningful way. They didn't like that. They didn't like the idea of the community being represented by a lib, as they'd say. Oh, he's a lib. I think
Yeah,
they wanted it to be one of them, but none of them had the balls to actually do that kind of thing.
and what we are, hold up, speaking of labels, I have something, I don't know if you've seen it. Let me share a screen with this window. So we have here the lib left neocon. Can you see it?
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, so no child labor, a free press, religious freedom, gun rights, capitalism, egalitarianism, free speech, political accountability, offensive realism, and gay marriage. You're damn right, I killed for this country.
Very nice. That's kind of the problem when you talk to a lot of these people online, because you might think that you have a lot in common. I can understand the urge to ally yourselves. Like you might think, oh well, especially in the U.S., getting, maybe not so right now, not so much right now, given the disastrous pullout in Afghanistan. But a little bit before that, the prospect of getting out of Afghanistan was actually very popular. There was no real controversy. It seemed like a lot of people were on board with that. Obviously, a lot of people didn't like the Bush administration, W. Bush. They didn't like toppling of Saddam Hussein, any of these things. These are things that very much upset them for whatever reason. And so you might think, if you get online, well, I'm a liberal. I believe in liberal universalism, and then I find these other people, and they agree with this. They're for the the fighting of terrorists and deposing of despots. I can get down with that. And then you start to learn some other things. And you begin to realize, oh, wait a minute, what these guys, they don't even want democracy in America or Canada. Like what? But they expect me to believe that they want democracy in Iraq. Why would I believe that? Why would I believe that people who don't want democracy here want democracy there? That would be a very strange ideology. Democracy for thee and not for me. It's usually the other way around, it would seem.
Pretty much.
So it more seems just like, I don't know, just an ingrained partisan position. Like if you're on the right, if you're on a certain subset of the right, people expect you to be, jingoistic. They expect you to support the military. And it's very bizarre in that sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense. There are people I've even seen Kevin debate them on the Hippy Dippy Roundtable, where they are right-wing non-interventionists and veterans. So like you have this guy, he went and served in Afghanistan and he fought, and his whole thing was like, oh yeah, no, my brothers died over here. How dare you say we should stay? I'm watching this guy and I think, wait a minute, so you wanted your brothers to die in vain for a cause you don't even believe in? It makes no sense to me. Well, did you just join up? Were you tricked into joining up? I guess maybe he would say he was.
Maybe he forgot why he joined. Who knows?
I mean, it was a while ago, it seems. So it's entirely possible. But it strikes me as strange. It does feel like a position born out of partisanship. Like, okay, I'm right wing. What is the right wing support? Okay, we support the police and we support the military. I'm going to go join the military. And there wasn't a whole lot of thought put in that, beyond that point. So you do see a lot of that. And, it's nice to have support. I can't control who watches my content. I can't control who watches the podcast, and that's fine. I would never seek to control that. Whoever wants to watch can watch. But that's about it. There's a very big difference between being a fan and being a friend. Being someone who I'm just going to be chummy with, somebody who I'm going to rub shoulders with on stream after stream. And there's enough of that to regret already. There's enough of that, like, oh, you look back on that and it was cringy. A lot of that was cringy, but it was what it was. And it was before a lot of these details that we know now came to light. So that is kind of necessary context to have when judging those situations. But yeah, I think that things, for the most part, worked out for the best. And unfortunately, this flagging debacle is, the predictable end of a very unfortunate saga. But we're gonna hold out some hope for that. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to Kevin's new channel, it's the same name, Superpower Broadcasting. And
First result.
tonight, oh, sorry, go
First result on the search.
ahead. That's true. So back on top, back on
Yeah.
top, man. But
He was already, his old channel was in my channels lists, but now it will take about a day to update with the new one.
I gotcha. Yeah, no. I mean, that's another thing that's just a pain. Like, you got to go back and change that, and oh yeah, let me. Because a lot of my old community posts are streams that aren't available anymore, which is a little funny. You look through my community posts, and it's just not available, not available, not available. What is he hiding? Well, the channel was taken down falsely, based on false flags, and it was a coordinated effort. But tonight, we're going to be streaming on that channel again. We're going to be doing Ghoul Gang Rising, and it should be a pleasant time with no pain. Lots of very agreeable
Except the
videos.
brain damage.
Yeah, maybe we'll give ourselves a break. Maybe we'll just play good videos. Maybe we'll just be like, you know what? Here you go. We don't even have any commentary. Now that would be a copyright infringement.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the channel again.
No. We're going to be responding to bad videos, obviously. But that is the situation, man, and it sucks for sure because you know I know what it's like. I never grinded as hard as Kevin. Kevin puts in so much work behind the scenes on this channel, on top of doing other things, and to see it so easily struck down by a loser who doesn't do anything and has never accomplished anything and probably never will accomplish anything. I mean, that just tells you there's no justice in the world, man. That's all it takes. Somebody can put in all this work and then somebody else can come along and screw it up. That's wrong. And I really hope that YouTube, they're not going to. But I would really implore any YouTube studio creator or whoever, moderator, who happens to hear this, please fix your system. It's broken. It's so prone to abuse, and I've seen this story play out time and time again.
From what I know, the mechanism of checking if the bot works right is to rerun the algorithm. It doesn't have that human touch to it.
There needs to be a human involved at some point. There absolutely needs to be a human involved if you're going to make a massive decision. I can understand saying, okay, well, this video received enough flags. I guess we're going to take down the stream after a while, potentially. But to not have an algorithm that could detect a pattern that was very clearly a coordinated attack done, not for the purpose of removing harmful content, but for the purpose of removing all the content without review.
In a harmful way.
Yeah, no, only 3 streams even got the AI review. And then all these other streams and videos, they just become collateral damage, basically. They all go down. And that's not right. That's not how it should work at all. That is not how it should work at all. And I would think that, even if you had no human touch, you should be able to design an algorithm that detects a pattern of coordinated harassment. But no, we don't even have that.
Even if they don't do that, they could make like limits on the channel, like have it just not yeah, not be able to upload for a while.
Oh
No.
yeah, that's how it used to be. I don't know when exactly a lot of these changes went into effect, but you know, back in the day, you could get a flag or whatever, like a community warning, and you wouldn't be able to stream for a period. Even that was pretty brutal back in the day. Or there was a really there's a really bad one where you wouldn't be able to upload videos longer than 15 minutes. So a lot of people ended up having to split their videos up. So those are a couple of the ones I remember off the top of my head. Those would have been bad. Those would have been real bad, but
Yeah,
they would have
there
been
is
far
there is something
preferable
like
to
that.
taking the channel down.
There is something like that on Minds with they have a limit on uploading videos, and I've worked around that.
We got Jay here. That's funny. Yeah, no, it's garbage. It really is, and we're doing our best to sort things out. But in the meantime, I'm grateful that we still have, you know, the ability to stream. That we're still going to get a lot of views and attract even more attention to Kevin's new channel. And I mean, it's growing at a rate that it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that it will just reach where it was anyway in
Yeah,
really no time at all, which would be amazing, which would really be amazing.
and by the fact that it's so much quicker, it might also accelerate further on.
Now that would be a backfire on the flaggers part. uh, they
Like
can't seem to
like
win.
we reach 2,000 subscribers instead of 1,000 this year.
Thanks, guys. It's appreciated. No, that actually is a
Do it
possibility.
again. Do it again.
It's a boomerang effect. No, that's funny. You even the thing is, it's easy to be upset about, but the way I see it, even fashy W's are L's because all it did was shine a giant spotlight on these losers. And what do? You know, you have all these content creators, these people, their livelihood is producing content for YouTube or Twitch. And they came out in support of Kevin, even if they disagreed with him. Like, look, you know, I understand. I sympathize with you. What if this happened to me? I'd be homeless. I'd be broke. I'm
Yeah,
dependent on this.
Dylan Burrs, I know, did that. Like, even though he disagrees with Kevin, he said that, yeah, this is not all right. People should go support.
Oh yeah, no, and that's very appreciated. And meanwhile, what are the fascists doing? They spend all day, despite the fact that they're mostly anonymous, hiding behind alt accounts and trying to convince people that Kevin is a bad man. They're on Twitter, and basically anyone who responds to Kevin, they'll be like, "Oh, you know this guy, Kevin? He's a bad man." Even people who don't like Kevin. That had to have been one of the most amazing interactions I've ever seen in my life, where there was a guy who doesn't like Kevin. He came on for a debate with Kevin, doesn't like Kevin at all. They had a screaming match, and he's commenting on the thread because, of course, you know, all these followers, you know, they end up being losers anyway. And even if they hate you, oh, I'm going to follow you and I'm going to comment on everything you ever tweet ever. And then you have these alt accounts come in and say, oh, by the way, didn't you know Kevin's a bad man? You're telling a guy who doesn't like Kevin. You don't need to win him over. That guy already doesn't like Kevin. So it's a waste. I mean, you're already wasting your life away by you wake up every moment of your life is, let me talk about Kevin Castley. But to waste time trying to convince an already existing Kevin hater that Kevin's bad is quite the double waste, actually. So there's that. I don't know if I have too much to say beyond that. I know I said I was going to be short, but it was Reese short. So really, it was bound to be long-winded to a degree. There's a lot to go over. This has been, you know, a situation beyond the flagging that unfortunately we've had to deal with for a long time. I think it's lame, and I would rather this be the end of it. But sadly, I think that's not going to pan out. But at the very least, I hope that this was a lesson to those in the community. Look, just be wary. These people are out there. They will abuse the flagging system against you if they disagree with you. They absolutely will. They will disingenuously use the flagging system. Beyond that, they will dox you. They will harass you to the ends of the earth. They will attack your mutuals. There is nothing that's too low. Nothing. You might think, oh, they wouldn't do that. They would. Whatever you're thinking, they probably would. So just be wary of that. It's not to say, oh, don't talk about this, or oh, don't be scared enough to abandon your principles and not stand up for yourself. No. Just be aware that these people are out there and they have nothing better to do with their time than to come after you. So, but I think a lot of content creators sympathize with that. I really do. And this is, if this had happened when Kevin first made his channel, I mean, it would have been devastating. But, if you first make your channel, you don't have any followers anyway. So it's like, well, I went from 3 followers to 0 followers. Okay. I guess I'll just make a new channel and get those 3 followers back at some point. But
like, call a cousin, we can get to more than we had.
That's true. That's very true. But at this point, when you actually had a following, you were on the up and up, you were on your way to 1,000 subscribers, and you've been networking, you've been appearing on all these shows. This actually didn't really accomplish anything. Once you have these connections, people are going to shout you out, even out of pure sympathy, even if they don't agree with you. So that that does seem like very poor planning on their part. Maybe they really are a fan club. Maybe their goal is to make Kevin look more sympathetic, because this is how you do it. Maybe all of this was 5D chess. I don't know.
Yeah, it was triple agent work.
Well, that's my piece on that. I don't know if you had anything to add.
Yeah, not on this story, but since you're here, tell us, Reese, what resources will you have? Like, what are some people or publications or books which have some really good takes on foreign politics, on foreign policy? Who would you recommend?
Oh man, well, I can't say I've read too much of the literature, to be entirely honest with you. You could, we reference Jean Kirkpatrick a lot, so you could pick up some works from her. I can't say I've ever read any of it in full. I've read some excerpts that I thought were good.
We could put it on the reading stream.
So she's a good go-to. Mostly I would listen to things. I would listen to Christopher Hitchens' speeches. I've even listened to some of those more recently. But to be entirely honest with you, I didn't really become hawkish because of exposure to other hawkish voices. I feel like I just kind of naturally settled into that based on seeing what was in the news for the most part and keeping up with that. So, but it is nice to come across a reasonable voice every now and then, especially these days, because I feel like I go out of my way to listen to unreasonable voices more so. So, I don't know. And it is kind of a matter of principle at this point that I don't consume too much in the way of hawkish content, because I have a feeling, there's just a fear that maybe it rubs off on you too much and then you start sounding like a parrot, basically. So that's kind of been something in the back of my mind for a while. Not that I'm adverse to it or anything, and I will watch videos every now and then. But I don't know. A lot of it's been more grassroots on my part than academic, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it's all good. I'm not a good person to go to for a reading list. I feel like it's been a while since I was able to have an opportunity to sit down and read anything, that wasn't, just for fun or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm I'm too busy watching Jimmy Dore.
And cry laughing.
More like, I think it's more leaning toward crying these days. uh, it's just
And,
abuse,
yeah. I mean,
self-inflicted abuse.
hmm he is him. What should we expect?
That's true. No, that's the process. Is I'll see. I have like a YouTube news tab. I'll have the normal news tab and I'll have the world news tab. So I'll look in there. I'll see some of the main stories that are being reported on. See if there's anything good there. Usually those are whatever. It really depends. Usually, because the thing is, the news isn't always in the wrong. Yeah, we've covered some clips here and there that I thought were not not all that good in their messaging, but it depends. I think the journalists actually were one of the main groups to actually hold Joe Biden to account on the Afghanistan debacle. So I'm usually, for the most part, I'm not going to disagree with their takes when it comes to that. They seem pretty, you know, basic, common sense to me. But I'll go from there. I'll see what people are talking about, just to get kind of a general sense of the landscape. And then I have a couple favorite, we'll put that in quotes, channels to go to, and to see what they're talking about too. And Jimmy Dore unfortunately is one of them. So
Yeah. And if you almost take a spoon to the eye, then it's Gulgan Rising time.
a spoon to the eye. That's a new one. That's like a more macabre gag me with a spoon, I see.
We have to keep civil language.
I've done my best. I hope I was good, because I do have a bit of a potty mouth on the podcast, but no, I think I was okay over here.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to keep it a little chill, because obviously I have to do that, and then I promise to appear on somebody else's stream too. So really
yeah,
can't be burning all my energy.
yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining. Usually I end the streams with those or masqueration. So I know you probably don't have anything, but yeah. For
in
the
terms
people,
of in terms of like promotion or whatever.
no, just those were the ideas of the channel and stuff like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the people who are here from Kevin's community, I mainly do reading streams right now. It's the only thing I have time for, and the liberal lookouts are for reacting to other content. And on Sundays, I do bird's eye view news, like the hold up, this one, yeah. In the corner, there's the logo made specifically for that, and yeah, there's just the geopolitics and state of liberalism show to the most I can do with it. It'll get better though. Yeah. So yeah, thank you again for joining, and for everyone, until next time, a soul, those who are masqueration, and have a good one.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Sure thing.